Did you like coaching him? Was it okay? Like, how would you rate the experience?
It was challenging, more because we were fighting two things, and not like visually fighting. Is that James is so good at playing one way, and the way that I believe you have to play to win, in some ways, is different because it's a lot of giving up the ball, moving the ball, coming back to the ball.
Ben Simmons is gone, Doc Rivers is gone, and now James Harden is about to be too. The NBA is a league that just continues to amaze me. When I got the news that I'm going to bring to you guys this video, my jaw literally hit the floor. This offseason is without a doubt shaking up to be one of the most ridiculous offseasons that we've ever seen. And as silly as this sounds to say, it's not really showing any signs of slowing down. Now, before I really get into things, I want to shout out Eric Slater for bringing something to my attention that I should have very well noticed on my own. The James Harden, the Kevin Durant, and the Kyrie Irving have combined for a total of 7 trade requests in less than 2 seasons. Guys, there's no other way to put it. That's a ton of trade requests and not a whole lot of stability. Might I add that stability is something that just so happens to be pretty important in the NBA. Before anybody gets mad, I do live in Houston, so I'm a pretty big Harden fan. As I say all of the time, I'll never get mad at a player for trying to find themselves in a more favorable situation. As somebody that has tried to please people for most of their lives, I'll be the first to tell you that you need to make sure you're happy before anything else. I really am all for players doing their thing. It's just that if I'm a franchise that is invested or is thinking about investing in any of these guys, how in the world is this consistent lack of commitment supposed to make me feel? At this point, I'm convinced that investing in Kyrie Irving or James Harden is either a sign of immense confidence in the stability and direction of your franchise, or a sign of immense desperation. I'll let you guys decide which after we get to the news, but first, today's content is brought to you guys by Chime. Let's be real, guys. Good money habits start with Chime. And whether you just started your first job or just really want to get things right, Chime is giving you the opportunity of a lifetime. Because with Chime, you've always got the opportunity to get on the right financial path. When you sign up with Chime, you get access to benefits like getting paid 2 days early and fee-free overdraft for up to $200. Also with Chime, there are no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and no direct deposit required to become a member. Head on over to chime.com/coop and sign up for a Chime checking account today to link your first paycheck. It only takes 2 minutes and it also doesn't affect your credit score. Huge shout out to Chime for sponsoring today's content. Now let's read this mandatory disclosure. The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by Stride Bank and member FDIC. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Late payment may negatively impact your credit score. Results may vary. There's been an abnormal amount of smoke surrounding James Harden this offseason. And honestly, that's saying something. I always saw the potential for problems in Philadelphia with Doc being Harden's coach, but never in a million years did I ever see Harden wanting to leave Daryl Morey. Here's a reminder that Morey said this when the season ended.
And a follow-up with James obviously having the player option. Do you anticipate him being back here with the Sixers, being able to re-sign him?
Was that James? We can't have those discussions yet, but we are interested in bringing him back.
Not only did Morey say this, but there are also reports out there that state that there is a belief that Morey fired Doc to please Harden, which would really surprise nobody. Morey is Harden's biggest fan, and naturally, Harden also loves Morey, which is exactly why, regardless of any past dysfunction, this whole thing has taken me by surprise. For crying out loud, when Morey left Houston in 2020, he took out a full-page ad in the newspaper to thank Harden and the city while saying in that ad that James Harden changed his life. Now, of course, I'm being a bit facetious here. Does Morey still love Harden and Harden love Morey? I really hope so. Can both of these entities still operate in the best interest of each other, despite both of them playing the field? Of course. Though there are reports that Harden is mad with the 76ers, I personally think that he's more mad at ownership. There's no way that Harden could be mad at his boy Daryl Morey, right? he wouldn't do him dirty after he took that pay cut, right? Well, regardless of what happened, both sides are now trying to work together to find a trade. Yesterday, Woj reported that James Harden would be picking up his $35.6 million player option for this upcoming season, and that both sides would be working together to explore trade scenarios. Woj continued by saying that it's also expected that Harden has played his last game for the 76ers, and that the Clippers and Knicks would be among the expected teams that would engage the 76ers on a potential Harden trade. I'm not a fan of Harden joining the New York Knicks that had Jalen Brunson looking like a superstar this postseason. As for the Clippers, him joining what they have going on does make a bit of sense. They did need a point guard last season before Russell Westbrook joined the show. According to Law Murray, the Clippers may possibly be the frontrunners for Harden, and according to Sam Amick, Harden is optimistic that he will be traded to Los Angeles. I find all of this going on with Harden very interesting. We have the old-fashioned case of an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. Morey will surely want to do right by Harden and probably has a deal in place to send him to a preferred destination. But at the same time, Morey has shown the ability to stand his ground until he gets a return that he deems fit, which in his most recent case was James Harden. I know that it's apples to oranges, but my point remains the same. Mind you that Morey knows that Morey is probably a few wrong moves away from frustrating Embiid if he hasn't already. Joel Embiid will be 30 next year, and has already had a number of different injury issues throughout his career. The 76ers have a very delicate title window, meaning that if Morey wants to remain in the good graces of the Philadelphia people, he needs to nail this Harden mess and this offseason in general, which nailing this offseason for Morey might be a bit easier said than done. Harden opting in gave him just one remaining year on his contract. Harden is 33 going on 34 in August, and despite a few good games this postseason, he was underwhelming. I have no idea what this guy currently gets you in a trade. As I just said, Harden could have simply entered free agency this offseason and not opted in, but he did so for good reason. As Woj noted, he probably looked at potential free agent destinations and saw that he wasn't going to get the commitment from another team that he was looking for. Personally, I thought that Houston might give him that commitment and that it was basically a done deal about a month or so ago. What can I say? Those Rocket beat writers and reporters really had me locked in. While I was always skeptical about paying an aging Harden a whole bunch of money, I did think that it would be a good look for the city if he did return. I think that other players make note of things like that, which if they do, maybe that could help you potentially lure somebody in the future. With that being said, I'm ecstatic that Harden won't be taking minutes away from Amen Thompson. This 6'7", 6'8" point guard that the Rockets drafted 4th overall looks like a freak with the basketball. I know that there has been a lot of talk about Scoot being worthy of the #1 overall pick in prior years. Well, I'm going to go on record and say that the same should be said for Amen. Yeah, guys, it hurts to say it, but if Harden wanted a bag, then I am glad that the Rockets passed on him. Funny enough, though, while the Rockets did seemingly pass on Harden, opting not to give him the contract that he wanted, apparently what also didn't help this whole situation was Jalen Green going on Paul George's podcast and saying that the addition of Harden could hinder his development, also that it could help and hurt him at the same time.
There's obviously been some links of James wanting to come back to the team. Like, I feel like at this point, you're the king of Houston. Like, you got to go through this. You got to go through being double team, being triple team, being the target every time. You got to go through that. And you bring on someone like James, who's such a ball dominant player, like, that's going to hinder your growth a little bit. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Regardless of how it can elevate you on another level of him teaching you and you learning off of him, I feel like for you, you've already been through the fire. So, like, let you continue to learn. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I think it play both ways. Like you just said, it can help and hurt at the same time. I ain't really talked to him too much about the rumors and stuff like that. I'm with you on that.
If Paul George isn't included in a potential James Harden trade, and Harden does indeed land on the Clippers, we could be looking at one of the most comedic sabotages of all time. I don't care if it was ultimately the Rockets' decision to pass on Harden after hiring Udoka. Let me have this. In all seriousness, Paul George is my favorite podcaster, and I'm very grateful for his content. Guys, in the comments below, let me know what you think of everything. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.